I believe in film as a visual medium, first and foremost. I think sound, meaning sound effects and music, are incredible, powerful tools.
Easy, Neo. Easy.
Get this thing out of me. Don't touch me. Get away from me. Stay away from me.
But I think ideally the film should stand up on its own. So I'm a big fan of, at least through the very first cut, keeping the film pretty raw and pretty naked, so you can watch it and get some rhythm from it without the help of music and effects.
Easy, Neo. Easy.
Get this thing out of me. Don't touch me. Get away from me. Stay away from me.
Because music and effects are always going to make the film stronger, but you don't want them to become a crutch. At least without knowing they are going to become one. Sometimes you say, I need that crutch.
I am a sound designer supervising sound editor. Basically means I'm responsible for coming up with all the noises in the movie.
This will feel a little weird.
You know, obviously there were a lot of definitions in that movie about the nature of reality, and so I had to make a lot of definitions about the nature of the sound that defined reality or non-reality.
No one's familiar with the sound of a squiddy. No one's familiar with the sound that the neb makes.
We were watching dailies, and there was the incredible shot where the camera is pulling over the fetus, or not the fetus, the baby that was in the pod, and it's filling up with water, and the camera is pulling over it, and then the valve closes up. As the first take of that came up, they made this like shunk sound effect with their mouths. You know, it's to them like they had the sync track in their head running. It's usually a pretty good guide as to what it has to achieve. You know, that thunk was about 45 different sounds all put together, you know. Everything from plunger sounds to, you know, whacking a tire really hard and reversing it. You know, there's all kinds of crazy, like, toilet-type sounds in there, and, you know, but in the end, it had to just be thunk. We recorded for all of the fighting whooshing, which is an important part of it, which in the Hong Kong films is usually fairly simple. You know, it's the same kind of whoosh over and over again. We went to technical junkyards and collected everything that made any kind of sound when you moved it, and you know, we brought all this stuff in the studio and made every kind of whistling whoosh and pitched up, pitched it down, and played with it and processed and just created literally thousands of face hits and body hit sounds and arm whooshes and leg whooshes and all of this. Trying to always have that very earthy, very brutal, very musical quality that those Hong Kong films had, you know, but I also wanted to give it a kind of definition and articulation that they never had time to really put into it.
It wasn't really until I saw the movie that I saw how important that the concept of reflections were as far as the Wachowskis were concerned. Almost every scene has some kind of aspect of a reflective subtext. When Trinity first encounters Agent Smith, she's sitting on a motorcycle and she sees him in the rearview mirror of her motorcycle. You know, almost every time when Lawrence Fishburne is on the screen in his dark glasses, you see Neo reflected in his glasses. You know, the scene with the spoon moving around, it's always got somebody's face in it. I think I was able to take that ball and run with it and use reflections in the orchestra, you know, of one section against the other, or just a contrapuntal idea of place one on top of the other that would represent this reflection that we see on the screen. And that was really the key to it for me. We all pretty much agreed that an organic, orchestral, and choral approach was the best for the music, and then we could enhance that with some additional synthesizer and sampler elements. And then, you know, whatever sequences had the protagonist, we could shift the emphasis onto the orchestra. When the machines were taking over, we could shift the emphasis toward the synthesizers, and it really worked pretty well. The fact that it was fairly seamless going from the underscore to the songs was mostly due to the sensitivity of the directors and also the music supervisor, Jason Bentley.
The process was a combination of
of understanding what the Wachowskis were interested in. They had the core interests of Rage Against the Machine. At the end was just spot on. They couldn't do without it. Furthermore, Prodigy was important.
They're watching you, Neo.
Who is?
Please just listen.
That was a natural connection. Was some of the concepts in the film very much match this future-minded mentality that a lot of the producers in electronic music really subscribe to. There's this record on there, Rob D, Club to Death, which is an awesome tune. It's a surging, thick hip-hop breakbeat with strings. Basically, that's a record straight out of my crate. I mean, just like these records around me. Just one of those gems that no one knew about. It was just one of those gems, you know, and you drop it, you play it at just the right moment. But, you know, a DJ usually keeps them because they're like secret weapons.
We're in.
And then we, you know, began to kind of just get it all done. And it was, you know, as usual, it was a rough ride because there was just visual effects that weren't coming in time, and we had to do TV spots and a trailer, and we needed visual effects in the trailer, and they weren't ready yet. I mean, just it's always a whole, you know, tension-filled moment when you're preparing to release a movie.
In the last week of mixing, I took out 2 frames because the visual effect had come in and it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. And I felt that this cut wasn't quite right. I figured this is the end. This is what's going to be there forever now. And I wanted it to be right.